Welcome to the Reach Minds Thoughts for Your Life Journey podcast. In this episode, we will be delving into the topic that touches us all, retirement and aging. Specifically, we'll be highlighting what some refer to as the dangerous decade, that period from the mid to late 50s to mid to late 60s. A time when ageism can often rear its head, potentially bringing a sudden halt to the vibrant working life. My guest today has a truly inspiring story that directly addresses this challenge. He's here to share his personal journey of realizing that while others might perceive him differently in the workplace due to his age, he was not done working. This realization led him to find an organization called I'm Not Done Yet, which he created 7 years ago. And the name perfectly encapsulates his profound belief in the enduring importance of purpose and activity in later life. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you,
To
Nita.
our wonderful podcast that I'm looking forward to hearing all about I'm Not Done Yet. I would say that I have been inspired and laughed and giggled when I have read your blogs to such an extent I have thought I've got to have a podcast with this person because he sounds humorous, insightful, and offers aging population of some ways of existing and saying, I'm not done yet.
I hope so. This has been my journey. I'd say journey, it's really been my therapy, this group, actually working out how this transition through the dangerous decade works for me or worked for me. And I've learned so much from people who are just a little bit ahead of me in terms of what is possible. And I've had my horizons broadened by people. I've learned that perhaps my sort of very linear, conventional view of retirement needed to be broken. And there's lots of opportunities out there for us. We can have fun, we can laugh a bit, we can use our skills and experience, but I'm not sure society makes it easy for us.
I would agree with that. So tell me, when did the idea of I'm not done yet come about and the pivotal moment where you thought, I got to do something here?
I think I was in probably my biggest job that I'd had. I was running an organization and I got the fact that it probably was my last chance to get what I call a big proper job. And I went out and got a big proper job and I wasn't really enjoying it very much. And I knew that it was going to be really hard to replace it. And I think it was a walk that I came up with the idea of I'm not done yet. It was just came into my head like almost like a flashing beacon that I'm not done yet, but I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. So I set out on this I'm not done yet journey. I created the organization. I don't really think I understood what it was all about because it has evolved as I've grown older.
Oh,
I'm 66 now, and I think I have a better understanding of what I'm not done yet is all about. It started out very broad, trying to solve every problem under the sun that anyone over 50 might have. And it's narrowed down very much to being about purpose, about identity, about being relevant, about using skills and expertise. And dare I say the W word, wisdom. When you get to this age, you've learned a bit. As I say to people, I've made an awful lot of mistakes, so I've got a really good idea of what not to do. And it's narrowed down to people who actually want to use what they can do a lot longer, a lot bit longer into their 60s. I thought it was going to be get me through to my retirement and then, I might have an ordinary retirement. But the reality is, through the people I've spoken to, the role models I've got out there in their 70s and 80s, I don't see any point in stopping. And if anything, I broaden the range of things I do. Conversations we've had, I've got quite a portfolio of bits and bobs that I enjoy doing. It's just I don't have that big one job anymore. And the whole point of Indie is to help other people who want to find out from others or work out for themselves how they can have a longer working career if that's what they want, or go out there and explore something else. They might have a passion that they want to explore. So that's what Indie has really become.
So when you were setting it up at
Yeah.
Indy, what did you have in mind? Was it that you wanted to continue working because of financial reason, or you wanted to explore other areas, or what were some of the factors that led you to create Indie? And I suppose the second part for me is, what did you learn about yourself as you began to unravel this concept for yourself?
What did I learn? I learned that what was possible was a lot broader than I ever thought possible. I was in this place of not being happy at work, but knowing that actually ageism was going to get me. I wasn't going to get a big job. I was talking to friends, and very slowly they were being pushed out of the job market and finding it very difficult to get back in there. And really, this kind of whole indie thing, as I say, it was almost a therapy for me to help me through my transition and work out. But it turned out being the same for a lot of other people. Just working out, how do you live these years? Because the big problem is there is a very outdated model of retirement out there.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
the idea is one day we're working, the next day we're not, and we're perhaps watching daytime television, playing bowls, or pruning flowers. I don't know, which is right for some people. I'm not deriding that. But there are some people who've got business skills or community building skills or whatever that, and they still want to use them. That's what kind of indie has become, this community, the actual online community. We've got 850 members from across the world now who
Oh,
have all
wow.
share ideas, and we're all helping each other work out what on earth it is we're doing and how we do it. But through doing it, the big thing, and I haven't got all the answers yet. I'll probably be another 10 or 20 years, possibly another 30 years before I know what's going on. But what's been really interesting is actually coming up with some different concepts, some different names for things that aren't really names. Dangerous decade. People relate to that because they get into their late 50s and things start to go a bit pear-shaped, and you think you're going to work on to 66, 67, but it's very tough doing that. And some people end up with some jobs that they really don't want to do because they can't get the jobs that they do want to do. We come up with the term soft retirement versus hard retirement because actually a good way to retire is soft retire, where you might start in your 50s, you might not finish retiring until your 80s, or some people I've met it's been 90s, and you just slowly change what you're going to do, focus a lot more on you, what you want to do, because there is a point where pensions start to kick in for a lot of people. 66, 67, the state pension comes in, and that kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. But this idea that you can carry on working, a little bit more self-esteem, a little bit more money, that's always nice, but doing stuff you want to do. So that's been a term that we've developed. And another term we've come up with is boomerang retirees, which a lot of people go down that hard retirement route and they just stop, and then they get bored. They think, I really don't want to be doing this. A lot of it is because society is not really set up to use their skills properly. So, they might end up in a charity doing something that is very mundane, whereas they're capable of lots of stuff and they're seeing through how the operations have worked. So the boomerang retirees sometimes come back to try and use their skills, set up companies, teach all sorts of things.
Sorry, I didn't appreciate, Andrew, that you had 850 members. And certainly I will be joining that because I
Yeah,
just
but
think
please do.
it's a resource in terms of, and what I want to pick up, you've said lots of things.
Yeah,
One of the first things is you were alluding to is being inspired by those who are in their 70s and 80s. Tell
absolutely.
me how, what in your discovery, how they inspire others, really. What are they doing?
It's those who say, I'm not done yet. I won't mention names, but there is
Oh,
one lady in the West Country who turned around to me the other day. She's in her late 70s. She said, Oh, I fancied going to this conference in the US. I've booked it, I'm going, and she will. And even I might think a little bit carefully about suddenly upping sticks and going to the US for a conference on my own. I had another conversation with a guy who runs a business in his 80s. And I said to him, When are you going to stop? And he said to me, I'm going to stop when I'm 100. And I said, Why 100? And he said, I'm going to live to 105. And I thought I'd just try 5 years of retirement at the end there. And, and you realize that actually my conventional view of retirement was I was going to get somewhere in my mid 60s, live off my state pension. You don't have to. This is the, if anything, Indy's about saying to people and telling these stories that there's a lot you can do. You can take control and you can run your own business. You can, I don't know, paint. You can set up a charity or, but it's just using your skills and expertise. You don't have to die off mentally in your mid 60s. There's a lot of
no.
people who would challenge me and say it's all right for you. You look like you're doing all right. But there are people out there who are living true indie lives on very little money at all. Some quite challenging circumstances, but it's a mindset, I think, about saying I'm not done.
Yeah, that sort of also I want to pick up the society's limitations that and the mindset people put on when you hit a certain age and they begin to look at you in a particular way. How can we, or how do you within your kind of network try and pierce that concept really?
Well, think I think we've got this idea that you get to 65, 60, whatever it is, and you say, I'm an old person. And we lump everyone into being an old person. And the reality is that period from 50 to whatever it might be, 80s, 90s, is two distinct chunks. There is a period of time, 70s, 80s, possibly beyond, where you are still active. You can still get around. Your brain's still working for a lot of people. I know it's not the same for everyone. And then there's a period after that where perhaps you might be done or you might really want to slow down. And I think the mistake we make is everyone's old at 60 or even younger, 55. As soon as you hit that dangerous decade, you're old folk. And I think the trick is if that is two distinct periods of time, the first, shall we say, quarter from 50 to 75 is to live that as long as you can, live that into your 80s, your 90s. And the last quarter, say 75 to 100, is to shorten that. But
So in
there's not one answer for everyone. That's the other thing.
I would
This is
agree with you.
what's right for me and other members of the indie community. I will, if someone wanted to stop work and just live on a pension, that's their right. But there's just this tribe of people who are saying, I'm not done. I still want to do more.
And in your sort of pursuit of the last sort of 7 years, what kind of roles have you done? I know one of them really inspired me that I did actually reach out to and register myself in a recruitment agency, although it hasn't been so easy to become a ceremonial registrar.
Yeah,
It
well,
hasn't been as easy as I thought it might be because,
wrong time of the year.
oh, is it?
Whatever's
Okay.
going on because the recruitment tends to happen sort of winter for the summer season. And the job you're referring to is I marry people
Yes.
as a ceremonies registrar. So I
Yeah.
just do weddings. That's
Yeah.
one of them. I've been a film extra. I'm a videographer. I've filmed about 400 short form videos for social media. What else have I done? I'm a consultant. I do some consultancy. I do some mentoring. I'm a judge on a national award. I'm a charity trustee. I have been a school governor. And for me, it's been like trying these different jobs on. Some have
Mm.
worked. Film extra work, no. I loved it. I loved going, sitting on film sets and just seeing what happened. But it was a lot of effort for very little return. But it was fun while it lasted. And I have got an IMDb database entry where my name is there as man walking past church. That was one of my best roles. Yeah, I've tried an awful lot. Some have worked, some haven't. Mainly, I think, like a lot of people, I went into consultancy and coaching because that's what people are suggested to go into. It's a tough world to be in. And if I've learned anything, it's actually about specializing to get work and becoming more niched.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of a tangent there. It does seem so easy to go into the mainstream roles that everyone else is going into, but a lot of them are quite heavily saturated. And that's why I've tried things like being a wedding registrar, which is a great job if you're older. People like someone who's a bit older to come and marry them.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And
And, and I hope you get the opportunity to give it a go.
I think I will in the autumn. I'm going to put it out into the universe and say that's something I really would be interested in doing part time, not full time.
Well, I don't. I only do 2 or 3 weddings a week
Yeah.
in the height of summer.
Yeah. So I think it's something, anyway, there's something for me
Yeah,
to contemplate. Tell me a little bit about your logo of Indie, because
I,
what
I,
for
I'm
me,
not.
that was fascinating.
It's being a podcast. I don't suppose that anyone can see it, but
Yeah.
originally I wanted a slightly irreverent logo, and the first option I did with the guy who designed it for me was to say, what I actually want is a logo that looks like a middle finger sticking up, because,
Mm.
and eventually we managed to come up with a logo that says Indie, which has 2 fingers sticking up, and this has since become the Indie salute, the 2 fingers, because there is a certain amount of blooming mindedness, the indie mentality, or so I
Mm.
found. Those who really, I don't know, find the best indie lives tend to stick 2 fingers up, and the logo does represent 2 fingers being stuck up. But it's discreetly done, so it's only if I show people that they realise that's what it is. But it is part of that mentality, and I think society will have you go along one way, but there's lots of room at the edges to bend what you can do and what you can't.
I love that. There's lots of room at the edges to bend what we want to do. I think that is having that mindset. I came across again the book Growth Mindset or Fixed Mindset, and I know that the book relates more to having a positive mindset when you're developing your career or looking, and the audience is probably the younger, less in the dangerous decade. And I wonder whether society can challenge itself to look at that those who are in the dangerous decade aren't on the kind of the derelict heap.
Mm.
They're individuals who offer enormous skills in very different ways that could complement society, individuals. And one of the key things for me, before I had this conversation with you, the options were okay, you can become a trustee or non exec or volunteer. And I thought, you know what? None of those appeal to me. I don't want to be any of those. And what is out there? What are people doing with purpose? And I think that's the other thing, what gets people up in the morning when they're 75 going, yeah, I really enjoy doing this. This is aligned with my purpose. This is about growing whatever that they want to grow. What's your thoughts on that?
I think I think that's the biggest gift you can give yourself is actually to do something that really is aligned with you, that really does match whatever you see your purpose to be, whatever that might be. Because I think it's better for you mentally. I think it's better for you in a whole body sense because the stress you get through doing stuff that, isn't aligned, shall we say.
Absolutely. So, what have you got planned for yourself in maybe in the next couple of years, Andrew?
It's an emerging feast.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know is the answer. I know there are certain things that I believe passionately in. I believe very strongly in intergenerational working because and I have learned so much from particularly I've got two mentors in my 20s who teach me so much. They say I teach them stuff. They give me so much, and I think that's an area that is really worthwhile exploring, particularly with the emergence of new technologies and being able to understand. Because I think things like AI and these sort of new techs will have a big impact on how older people can live their lives and what they can do with them. So that's one. I'm very much interested in getting people to talk because I think as a society we have a lot of coaches and mentors out there that will take you through a process, but I think we've lost the art of having a really interesting conversation that might duck and dive in all directions. It might take you to places that you would never have gone if you'd followed a structure. So that's quite interesting for me at the moment. How can we do that? And I think I can't remember when I spoke to you, if I spoke to you about Curia Regis, the idea of advisors. Back in the sort of day, Curia Regis is Latin and it means royal advisor. Back in the day, people would have a series of advisors. They wouldn't necessarily be coaches, they'd just be good people, good sounding boards. And I really have learnt over the last few years, particularly around INDY, the idea of having some really good sounding boards out there, people that you can have a conversation with and they'll help you make sense of it rather than perhaps a more structured relationship. So I'm quite interested to explore that. And of course, INDY, see where INDY goes. INDY
Yeah.
is no means complete, finished. And actually, it'll be the INDY members that will decide where it goes, not me. Because that's
Sounds
what
amazing. Sounds amazing. And what I like about what you're saying, particularly now, Andrew, is the sense of, because when I asked you what's around for you for the next 2 years, and it's about living with uncertainty. And you'd be surprised how many people want to nail things down. And the idea that you can live with some not knowing and the uncertainty is, I think, quite liberating.
it is. And people who know me know that I'm quite interested in, because I don't know how it's going to affect me, this fact that I could drop down dead tomorrow or I could live to 105. And I'm trying to hedge bet both ways. I don't want to miss out on the experiences now because I'm planning for living to 105. But equally, I don't want to get to 105 and not have the money to live. And that's a whole interesting kind of discussion.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
how do you cover all your bases?
Yes, I think that is true. And I think people do need to cover all their bases. And okay, society provides a little bit,
Yeah.
and the rest of it you may have to top up or do something else with it. And I think, I guess it's about what you're saying is you can't live saying, okay, I for 105, because you might miss the present moment where everything is live and present for you.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
is about living in the present and hoping for the best, that as you progress towards, 105, that you will have the resources to support you in that regard.
But the interesting thing for me is now I've got to 66. I realize I've got to 66. I can look back and things that would have freaked me out when I was 25 or 40 don't now because I've had those experiences. I've made all those myriad of mistakes,
Which you've learned from.
which I've learned from.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were to give any tips and insights to those who are emerging into the dangerous decade, or those who are in it and being a bit lost, what would you say to them?
What would I say? I would look ahead of the road. I'd look to older people who've been through it. I'd join the indie community because we're having conversations about it. We're working out what's going on. And don't bottle it in. Don't think it's you. This is the dangerous decade. In theory, shouldn't happen because ageism shouldn't be here. We should all be able to work to a decent age and then get a decent pension. But it's the myth. So I think it's the look around you and see what other people are doing and give yourself permission to do that and talk about it.
So, in terms of indie, do you have networks in each areas, or is just one big hub that
It
gets together?
one big online hub. It never intended to be that. To be quite honest, I tried to start a local group and four people turned up. And I started this online group and we've now got members. It's really English speaking members, although we've got quite a strong French and Swiss contingent. And I don't know why, but US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a lot in the UK.
Sounds amazing. I should be tapping into it. So, finally, what's the motto that you live by,
Ah,
Andrew?
you know my motto. It comes out in various formats, but it's basically have fun, do some good, and make some money. Or sometimes it's make some money, do some good, have fun. But basically, it's a combination of those three things. And I try and find things that do all those things. And when I say make some money, it's find a reward for yourself in life. Have fun, do things you enjoy, do some good, don't trample on everyone, get out there and use your skills to do things that will help people leave a better place.
Yeah, and I think we need where lots of us can begin to do something like that, helping people who are probably less fortunate than us in some ways.
I find because it's so short as a sort of mantra, sort of motto, it makes it life very easy to, when you're faced with something, you can say, is there a compromise here or am I doing all these things?
Yeah, and I like your motto and have fun, have reward, or earn some money and do some good. I think that sounds like an amazing motto to live by, Andrew.
It works for me anyway.
I think it works. It has all those three elements that we set at the beginning of it: purpose, ageism, and I guess it's also around our own attitude as well towards ageism as well. How we embrace it, how we don't take on the society's limitations because just because you're in your mid to late 50s or whatever, that somehow it's closed door, whereas it could be opening doors in a completely different way.
It could be also the learning for me, and I'm not there yet, is I don't intend my late 70s and my early 80s and possibly beyond even to allow those ageism doors to close to me because I've learned that from other people.
Yeah. And Andrew, I want to thank you because you, as I said at the beginning, you've made me laugh. As I've read your blog on LinkedIn, it's so funny. So continue to push the boundaries, continue to make people laugh because I think humor is an amazing antidote to a world that we don't laugh enough. I don't laugh enough, and it takes away the heat of the seriousness and makes the world of ageism that lighter, I think. So thank you for inspiring me. And as I said, I've already put one of the things out there in the universe of what I want to do. So who knows? And your website of INDY is www.indy.co.uk.
No, it's the full www. I'm not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
UK.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
If you're interested in working with me, connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or www.nitasharma.com. And if you enjoyed the podcast, why not consider subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you have access to your podcast, and leave a review.